Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Today, let's look at the situation in the country, and there's so many aspects to it. And I'm talking really here about the economy at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's about the economy and, shall we say, the reforms that the Tinubu administration is bringing to bear. The reforms are getting accolades, left, right, and center. But that does not mean that they're not tough. It's just that business leaders, especially in the private sector, are wholeheartedly adopting President Tinubu's stance and are saying that indeed, as I said, the private sector, they are well pleased with some of those bold and tough decisions that are being made. Now, that's what we thought we'd talk about today. The bold decisions that are coming out, they're bold, they're tough, and indeed, President Tinubu himself said that, look, these actions are going to be painful in the immediate and medium term, but ultimately, everybody will benefit from them. And in any case, we don't have a choice. It's almost as if he likened the economy to being in a nosedive, and that is when he has taken over. And we've just got to straighten the craft. We've just got to take it out of the nosedive. And of course, you begin to understand that most people do already know that, yeah, it's going to be tough, but there is no alternative. Later on, I'll be sharing some quotes of President Tinubu. He said that it's not even about us right now. It's not about him. It's not about you. It's about generations yet unborn. That is the work that has to start from now. So it's in that context that we'll be looking at some of the very bold decisions that have been made. My guests in studio here, Mr. Taiwo Olakpade is a broadcast journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you, as always, for coming on, Taiwo.
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed, it's my pleasure.
Yes,
and remotely, all the way over in Texas, I'm not sure if it's Houston because there's more than Houston to Texas, but all the way in Texas is Nosa Osaiku. Nosa Osaiku is a certified project manager and was member of the, he's a member of the Nigerian Human Rights Community, and he was also a member of the Presidential Campaign Council. So a fine morning to you, Nosa. Okay, well, sometimes distance causes that kind of a situation. So let's start. Actually, we're taking this from when President Tinubu opened the MBA conference, remember? And they had set for themselves getting it right, charting the course of Nigeria's nation building. And the president was delighted because he had referred to it as extremely apt, extremely relevant. And that's because of what we're going to be talking about now. One of the things he said at the MBA conference is relevant for us. We're not talking about the MBA. Of course, the MBA is also a partner in progress. We're all in it together. But Tinubu, speaking to Nigeria, and Nigerians, was saying that we got to change our mindsets and let us move Nigeria forward. That immediately tells you, doesn't it, that some tough measures, because the mindset that we're talking about, we already were enjoying our subsidy on fuel. We were getting petrol the way it was. Well, that's one of the ways we say we've got to change our mindset. The Forex, the whole Forex issue, we already had our mindsets on there. There are people who were cutting away what they were cutting away. The rest of us were just looking, Now, that is not going to be the same as before. But would you like to comment on how you see these measures like that and similar taxation regimes that have now been sort of streamlined? In short, listening to the private sector and indeed engaging them as partners in progress.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to start by saying that the theme of the MBA 63rd annual conference currently holding in Abuja tallies with the renewed hope agenda of
does.
Mr. President.
That's why I said it was extremely apt.
A call for a better Nigeria, as he put it in the 74-page document in which his electionary campaign was largely captured on. And speaking at that the conference of the NBA in Abuja, the president told them that he's all out to ensure to change the narrative in the system. And it was so emphatic about the fact that, making a change definitely will surely come with some pains. Just like Yoruba will say, titari roll and collar. But toba di ogeton, toba jina doge, I don't know how to translate it, you know.
So some things are very difficult in the making of them, but then you enjoy them massively later on.
Thank you for coming to my rescue. So I'm saying that, and he also said Nigerians should not expect a change overnight, that we have to sacrifice. Sincerely, I could not but agree totally with that position of Mr. President. But the questions many Nigerians are also asking is, for how long are we going to sacrifice? What is the timeline for us to start seeing the dividends of democracy, seeing the benefits of the massive vote he enjoyed during the February 25th presidential election that that made him the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we speak right now. So I sincerely agree with the comment made by the president at the NBA conference, because as we speak right now, we know there are so many measures put in place to ensure that we change the narrative and we get it right. We know where we are coming from, like the Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, said that the current situation is not smiling, is not palatable enough, that they need to put in more work, more efforts to ensure that the promise made by President Tinubu during the electionary campaign can quickly, reach the millions of Nigerians that voted for him at that February 25th election.
I think they've started the work because Wale Edun, I think it was, who was saying, if not one of the other ministries, that look, we don't want to borrow anymore.
Yes,
I mean,
he said it emphatically.
Yes, we're not going to be borrowing
because
anymore.
We have been borrowing ever since.
Yes,
not even to pay back our loan, but to service the loan.
And even to just run our affairs.
To service the loan.
Exactly, you can't do that.
You can't be borrowing for consumption. You borrow to finance capital projects, not for paying salary, paying allowances. And Wale Edun has said, and hand has come to that, we are not going to do any borrowing that is not genuine again. Indeed. And that we have to look inward and generate more money to do the needful regarding the nation's economy.
And we'll even come to the fact that, look, for whatever, let it be said that we're actually going to be making more money now.
Sure.
Look at all that has been saved from the removal of fuel subsidy. Yeah, that's a painful one.
That's about 400 million naira on a monthly basis.
Yes. I mean, when you begin to look at it all over the place, I think some people are calculating that somewhere in the region of a trillion naira might actually be, being made per month. But I don't know. I think we can now make contact with Nosa Osaiku, a certified project manager. He's joining us from remotely from Houston. Good morning, Nosa.
Good morning, Yori. How are you doing?
Oh, okay then. There you go. There you are. Thank you very much for making the time for us this morning. We know it's morning to us, and it's also morning, very, very morning to you. So thank you for making the effort. Now we're talking about the tough actions and that are going to come, and that actually we began to, we actually know about those tough actions. It started from the very first day. Yes, there have been critics, but it started from the very first day when fuel subsidy was gone. That was a very dramatic one, but it's not the only one. And you had not quite joined us when I was saying that the president, speaking at the MBA conference, had praised the MBA's theme he had referred to it as very apt and very, very appropriate, which means that it coincides very much with the Renewed Hope agenda. So I wanted you to speak to the tough times ahead that Tinubu said there's no way we escape it. It might be tough in the initial stage, in the what is it now? In the short and medium scale, medium term, but at the end of it all, we will benefit from all of that. And the point that he actually also did make that it's not really about you or me or indeed himself, but about generations yet unborn that can only benefit from us doing the foundational work around now. It's too late, but better late than never. Talk to that, if you will, please.
Thank you very much, Yori. It's a pleasure to join you guys today and make my own contributions regarding the issues you just mentioned. The president was very correct in his assertion. And frankly speaking, when I listened to the speech, I was heartened because I heard the president made use of the word mindset. A change of mindset will be required even as we go through this process.
Yes. To paraphrase him, he had said, change your mindsets. Let us move Nigeria forward.
Forward, exactly. Yes. You will recall in my last appearance on your show, I talked about culture change. Change of mindset specifically means that the president is saying we as Nigerians must change our mindset as we strive to move this nation forward. Yes, it is true that the president has made some tough decisions since coming into office. But what I would enjoin Nigerians to do is to allow for some patience. It is important now that at the very early stages, things are going to be tough. But as the Holy Book says, and even in my native state of Edo, we always say that the end of a thing is better than the beginning of a thing. So the initial process might be tough and rough, but if we as a nation stays the course, the reforms that this president has proposed will serve Nigeria well and help transform our economy to work for the majority of our people. And I will give you one or two instances here. The removal of the oil subsidy was a very painful process, but it was the right process and it needed to be done. Now, what is now left, which the president and his administration has already started working on, is to introduce some palliatives to cushion some of the harsh effects. But no doubt that this process was being exploited by some unscrupulous individuals within and outside our borders at the detriment of our nation and economy. So the country will be recouping large amount of resources from this deregulation, and that money can now be plowed back into our economy. Secondly, I mentioned on my last appearance on your show that one of the things that the president...
Okay, it does look as if there are issues there. We just briefly lost, I hope it is briefly, we briefly lost Nusa there. We'll connect back with him. Okay, but to continue the theme, look, there are quite a number of things. One of the issues, one of the problems is that this dependence on the petroleum sector, well, thank God for it, we have it there. But Tinubu is saying that we can't just depend on that. And other people have said so as well before him. But you can see the moves that he is making to indeed address that particular situation. There are going to be new sources of revenue. I'm just imagining, by the time you look at the whole blue economy thing that has now been brought center stage, by the time you look at tourism, by the time you look into solid minerals, all of which have existed before. But now that ministries are being created for them, it shows the focus that's going to be on them, and that they must be working maximally. So there's going to be a lot coming in from there. But I suppose side by side with all of this is it can't be business as usual, where people were stealing our commonwealth, where all of this was being siphoned into unscrupulous pockets. Nosa was saying something about the very fuel thing that we've removed. Some people have immediately begun to investigate what can be done about it. So this is a new, it's a new regime, and that's the change of the mindset that Tinubu was admonishing Nigerians to adopt. That whatever it was before, that was all easy going. Well, we've got to change all of that. It's not going to be easy from now on, but we're working for our future, the future of our country. So more money will come in. Already, I'm sure it is coming in. But many people would have been very, surprised by we won't be borrowing anymore, because we become used to it and we think that's the way of life. Yes, economists have always told us that some borrowing is indeed indispensable. You need that. But here is the private sector telling us that, so far so good. Carry on. These are some of the things that we wanted. But of course, we've not been a part of it, or we've been shut out. But now these things are different.
Well, in terms of borrowing that the Minister for Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, made mention of, I'm not speaking for the government, but I want to believe that maybe this aspect of borrowing, maybe for now, we won't go the way of borrowing. And that's the reason why, like you rightly mentioned, we now have some new ministries created for the purpose of creating more jobs for Nigeria and also more opportunities for government to also rake in more revenue. Ministry of Tourism, for instance, we know the potentials of the tourism sector in the country. We have so many site attractions that we are yet to develop. You remember the Obudu Ranch during the former governor in Rivers State. We have not been hearing so much about it any longer. We know in terms of solid minerals, we know what is happening in some northern states in the country, like Nasarawa, Adamawa. We hear a lot about people who are tapping into these natural resources without regular license, either from the state or even from the federal government. These are some of the things that government are also looking into, to ensure that holistically we can bring all this together and create more opportunities for us to generate more money. Look at the new Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Definitely, we know the potentials. We have rivers all around our country. We know the percentage of water, so to say, that we have in the country. Have we done much? Have we maximized this opportunity in the past? No, we have not. So the president is looking into many of these areas and ensuring that what the Minister for Finance talked about, we are not going to go for borrowing, unnecessary borrowing at the moment, at the initial stage of this government. I think I want to believe that we are going to be having more success story in this regard. And then I'm also aware that government is also talking about the need to also collapse all the generating agencies of government like FRS, the Nigerian Port Authority, the NNPC, and the likes. They want to ensure that they have one, just like we have this single treasury system, the STA, remember? They want to, TSA rather.
What you say, what? Sorry. Treasury single account.
Single account. So they are looking into possibility of ensuring that we have all this money that are being generated, particularly for the agencies that generate revenue, we go into one same account to block all the loopholes.
That's why the coordinating minister of the economy, which is not brand new. We've had it be Okonjo-Iweala was that as well. But with these, probably Wale Edun will be having more to coordinate than Okonjo-Iweala had to. All of which is good because there have been these innovations. It's been very, very creative. This administration has been very, very creative according to those who know about such things as it relates to the economy. But I hear that Nosa is back. Nosa, good to hear that you're back. Can you hear us, Nusha?
Yes, very well. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yes, we understand. Would you like to pick it up, where you dropped out, if you know that place? Or otherwise, you were, actually what you were doing was that you were setting the scene about some of the things that you had pointed out in your last appearance on our program that also...
Yes. So in following the points I was making, that the president is really doing exactly what some of us had advocated for. He is trying to provide the correct perspective to Nigerians and also say that for this government to succeed, it will require a buy-in from every facet of the Nigerian population. We all must work together to move Nigeria forward. And the president has outlined his vision, and he has also tasked the ministers, the various ministers. And I'll say this here. For the first time in my adult lifetime, a Nigerian president is actually being responsive to the yearnings and criticisms of the Nigerian people. That is the first. And I think Nigerians must be heartened that this president wants to go down in history as the greatest president in the history of Nigeria. And why do I say this? When the president came out with his cabinet list, it was obvious that the Niger Delta Ministry was no longer to be a ministry. But many in the Niger Delta community were not happy with that. They complained and they reached out. And the president made a reassessment and appointed a minister for the Niger Delta Ministry. That is a good thing. We've never had that in the history of our country, whether during the civilian government or during the military era, where people will say, this is what we want, and government will respond immediately. Now, going back to the change of mindset, it is very important, and the president has spoken to this on many occasions, that every Nigerian reassesses themselves, both from the truck pusher to the plumber, to the governor, and to the president, to say on a daily basis, how does my action today help to move our nation forward? So as we go about our daily lives, we must always put our country forward.
Indeed.
So we say, God, country, and family. And I believe that at the end of the day, Nigerians will begin to reap the dividends of this democracy. It's going to take some time.
It will.
There will be some rough patches. So at the end of the day, I can see the light. And I believe that our people should give the president the time for the reforms to take place.
Well, that's it right there. The people need to give the president the time for these reforms to take hold. But Tinubu is not unaware that we are people. People, they just have, they don't suffer pain, gladly. That is a fact. But they can identify with you, and so far, I think most people have been identifying with the efforts of this administration because they can see what is going on, and they can see that, this looks like it's a bit different. The other thing, of course, is that, as I said, he said that Nigeria, not to overstate it, people talk about Lee Kuan Yew and his attitude to his country. There's a sense in which you can see aspects of that in, what, this administration is saying, that every hand has to be on deck. But because we're people, we hurt. And they are not unaware of that. They're talking about palliatives, talking about making things better, because we have to bring the poverty alleviation aspect into all of this. The people are going to be looking for... So I hear you, Mr. President. I hear you, Mr. The Tinubu administration. But what's in it for me? And there indeed, has been, something, but, people would like it to be a lot faster. And I think he has served the notice that nothing is going to be able to happen between today and tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that work won't be going on. I think it was Elumelu who said in the report on his visit to the president that the foundation is not necessarily the most beautiful part of a structure. And indeed, for that matter, you don't even see very much of it. But the foundation is indispensable in it. So people want something out of this. Palliatives, help me a bit. I can't get credit. Nobody is going to do anything for me. Before we come away from you, because I'm really a bit jittery, I don't want us to now be talking and then you go away. Speak to that, please, before we come back to studio.
Okay. Yes, I think the connection is more stable now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is important. Yes, it is important that the palliatives gets to the destination, gets to those who they were designed and intended for. And I think this president, the way they have started, Nigerians can be rest assured that these palliatives will get to them. It may not be immediate, okay, because Nigerians are used to instantaneous gratification and benefits. They want to see the results and they want to see it now. But this will take some time. So, but what this president has started doing, which I think will all go well for this nation, is that if in 3 to 6 months they see that the results, the desired results are not being achieved, they will reassess and then make some adjustments to ensure that people get the services that they require. But what I would say here is this, because I don't know, it appears that some of the president's men do listen to your show, is that we should work on how we can bring down the cost of fuel, not by reducing the price, but rather by creating an alternative. And I think the president and his administration has alluded to that with these liquefied natural gas and
Indeed.
CNG that is now being customized to help reduce the cost for those who would adopt it. And in addition to that, ethanol is a huge resource that we can embrace and adopt. In the United States, for instance, we use as much as 15% ethanol blend with our gasoline. So if, for instance, in Nigeria, we can adopt a 20% mandate, per liter of fuel, that will reduce the price of fuel by as much as 25%.
Indeed.
Without introducing additional resources in the economy, that will bring down prices. That's the palliative.